Hi there and welcome to my garden laboratory week 6. That's April 26th to May 2nd. So this week the main focus was to finish the chicken tractor and get the 4 hens, maybe 4. And you can see behind me I have the 4, yippee, I have it done. I was to plant out the seedlings from the glasshouse, and I was also to plant the remaining potato seeds. So that was the kind of main focus this week. Okay, so you can see the 4 hens here and the chicken tractor and relaxing in there. And I'm trying to sort out nest boxes. So that's kind of one of the challenges I'm having, is to get them to lay into the nest box, because I've had a few eggs already. Okay, they're still young and they're still coming on to lay, but this is what I've done here. I've tried to make a nest box and put a golf ball into it. I don't know if you can see that golf ball down there to kind of encourage them to lay in there, but I'm still trying to figure it out. But the hens are settling in well, and they're kind of really funny. So it's really great to get the hens. And so what I'm going to try and do is there's an area here that I want to fence off. The problem with the chicken tractor is it's kind of hard to move it around sometimes. It's a bit heavy, and also under these apple trees the branches are coming down, so it's a bit tricky. So what I might do is fence off a piece here, and I have some stakes and things like that, so I might fence off a piece of this area and just allow the hens to roam around during the day, and then back in the chicken tractor, more like a chicken pen, then at night. And you can see the house there that I finished, and I put the flashing on the roof. And one of the things I'm really proud of is my gate. This is the door to the pen. Look at how that opens, and it works really well. There you go, hens. You're on YouTube now. You're famous. Okay. So you say this was AI that helped me to do this. I've never done carpentry before, but the gate really works. And you see that bar horizontal, that was the key thing that AI helped me with. Otherwise I wouldn't have known to do that, to put that bar across. And that keeps it from sagging and keeps makes it open easily and close easily without getting stuck. That's really fantastic. So AI really helped me with that. Yeah, so all good on the chicken front, and I'm really happy about that. So on the bee front last week, I didn't really do my checks, and I mentioned that last week I didn't have a chance to do checks. I got distracted with other stuff. But then I paid a price, because what happened was one of the colonies swarmed, and I've had to divide that colony. And it would have been a good productive colony, because the same conditions that lead to swarming are the conditions that lead to honey production. So in other words, a strong colony. So when it splits, then you lose that potential to produce honey. But I've ended up with 2 colonies, so I've made a split. And you can see there in the video the queen cells. I'm showing you those queen cells, and those queen cells are capped, which indicates that the bees, the swarm has already left. So I ended up having to split into 2 different sections, leaving each one a capped queen cell. On the other colony, they're bringing in honey from oilseed, and I did find a big field of oilseed close by, and it's just over the canal, and I'll show you the canal here, and then the field, beautiful yellow color, beautiful at this time of the year. So I just wanted to show you the tomatoes in the polytunnel, and they're doing great. They're really, really growing well. They've become so big. It's amazing how quickly tomatoes can become so big. It's only a couple of weeks since I planted them. Okay, you can see how well they're doing. Look at the size of that one. It's become so tall, just within a short space of time. And they look healthy, which is great. So yeah, all doing well here in the polytunnel. And I'll be able to give you updates as we go along. But flowering as well. So the first truss, and that'll be setting soon. Yeah, so tomatoes in the polytunnel doing very well. Yeah, so also the seedlings in the glasshouse that I planted from seed, I'm also transplanting those into pots because they're also getting very big. So yeah, it's amazing. They start up two little seeds, two little leaves, seed leaves, and then all of a sudden they become big and you're transplanting them very quickly. So it's amazing how quickly they grow. Yeah, so one of the things I did this week as well, I also made a raised bed, and that's one of those bags that comes, one of those 1 ton bags that I converted into a raised bed, and that was really interesting. And I put a lot of rubbish in the bottom, like bits of branches and sticks, and then on top of that I put a layer of grass clippings, and on top of that I used some spent compost, and then only one bag of compost, fresh compost from the shop, which is like, it was 60 litre compost, about €6.60 I paid for it, so very cheap. And I ended up with a lovely raised bed, and I planted strawberries and lettuce into that raised bed. Rhubarb doing great, starting to come back. It was overtaken by weeds, but it's starting to grow back, which is fantastic. So I'm just going around to check on the potatoes in that kind of experimental bed. So if you remember, this whole area was overtaken by bushes just a few weeks ago when I started. So now you can see my beds, raised beds, and I've just planted some kales here yesterday. I want to use up the space, and that's strawberries. But this is what I wanted to show you here. This is the bed where I planted the potatoes. I can't remember what week it was. Was it week 2 or 3? And on the advice of AI, it said that I just needed to put down cardboard. Then I needed to make sure that cardboard is wet, and put the potatoes on top. And the cardboard is to keep down the weeds. Put the potatoes on top, and then cover it with grass, and leave it like that. So as you can see, there's lots of weeds have come up here, lots of thistles, lots of docks, and I'm getting a few potatoes peeking out. And you can see one there, potato plant, see another there. So they are starting to come up, but we'll have to wait and see how it works out. A bit of a briar there, thistles. So I'm still not 100% sure what's going to happen here, but it is a laboratory, it is an experiment, so we'll find out. And what I might do is I might just have a look down into one of those and see how it's doing. And you can see it here. Okay, this one I didn't have any cardboard underneath. I just had it pushed it directly into the soil, so I'm gonna put that back. At the ends is where I had the cardboard, so I might just have a look at one with cardboard. But I'm going to keep mulching these with grass clippings, and I'll have to weed it at some point. Now let me have a look at one where it had cardboard underneath and see how that's doing. I think this one over here had cardboard. Okay, let's have a look at this one and we see what happens. Okay, here we go. You can see, oh yeah, there's the potato itself. And it seems to be going down into the cardboard, not quite sure. But anyway, the roots are there. So maybe it'll be okay, this experiment. Let's see. At least it's good to see something popping up, but I'm waiting for the rest to come. Potatoes are quite tough, so maybe it'll be fine. There's always a few to begin with, and then we'll see what happens. But again, it's an experimental bed. It's basically no dig, and so I didn't dig this, and it's just potatoes then covered with little grass clippings. So let's see what happens. So just to reflect then on progress this week, well, it was great to get the hens. You know, I jumped in, I wasn't even ready. I was still making the chicken tractor when I got the hens, and then I was rushing to fix the door, etc. But it's fine. Start before you're ready. So don't wait for the perfect conditions. And then, you know, we can iron out issues like the nest box. I can do that as I go along. I suppose just reflecting on nature itself, you know, it's absolutely amazing. We talk about AI, we talk about other things, but nature is absolutely amazing. Take the tomato plants, you know, you plant tiny little seeds, then nothing happens, and then you wait, and then 2 little leaves pop up. Then when you're not looking, all of a sudden you have other leaves and it's bursting out of the pot and it needs to be transplanted. So it's just amazing. So I suppose the lesson is from nature is that, you know, keep planting seeds, whatever you are doing, whatever project you have. It might look tiny. Plant that little tiny seed and it can grow into something amazing or something huge. I mean, that's how all projects or businesses start. We always hear these things about Microsoft was started in a garage. So something tiny, and I'm diversifying away from just gardening here. Something tiny can grow into something big. So keep planting those seeds, and that's the lesson from nature. So in the coming week then, what do I want to do? Well, I want to fence an area around the chicken tractor. Chicken tractor is a bit big and unwieldy and it's difficult to move, especially under those branches. So I might just create a little area there for the chickens and then lock them in the chicken tractor, which is great for security from foxes at night. And I also lock them into their little house just for extra protection. But during the day, I'd love to be able to let them roam around a bigger area. So I might just fence off that area and then try and sort out that nesting box issue, because, you know, I'm not quite happy with, I have tried different versions of nesting boxes. I want to make sure that works. I want to continue to plant out seedlings from the glasshouse, for example, the tomato seedlings. I've been putting them into larger pots. I have lots of lettuce seedlings that I need to transplant. I want to transplant tomatoes and strawberries into the second polytunnel. I have one with tomatoes. Now I have a second one which is empty, so I'm going to use that. Of course, I have to check the bees. I neglected to check 1 week and I was punished. I got a swarm from, you know, you need to maintain your colony to get honey. So now I've lost that potential there from that particular colony, but I've ended up with 2 colonies instead of 1. Okay, you know, that's the consolation. But if you want to go for honey production, you have to keep the colony together and you have to try and head off that urge to swarm. So that's what beekeeping is all about. So if you don't check, then you're going to risk losing swarms. But on the other side of it, I also need to check on that honey and check on that canola. When that canola stops flowering, I need to remove that honey quickly, otherwise it goes rock solid in the hive, which is really bad because then it's hard to extract. So I need to extract it before it sets, because it's that oilseed rape honey or the canola honey, it just sets rock solid. So thanks for watching this video. I hope that you found it interesting, and this is the Garden Laboratory, and check in next week for another update. Alright, take care, bye bye.